So the age-old question of what's a Call of Duty update if there's not secret or hidden changes still persists, because with Season 3's update to Warzone, there were a handful of those changes that were not made, that were not communicated via patch notes. Today, we're going to break down all those changes and the big ones that you can really expect here out of jumping into the game that you might not see from what was mentioned by Raven and Call of Duty. As we go along, let me know your thoughts down below. Have you found anything big that you think deserves to be on this list? Feel free to let me know down below. As well, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to drop a like down below. And of course, if you are new to the channel, do be sure that subscribe button. Yesterday, we crossed 400,000 subscribers. That is actually mind-blowing to me. So thank you guys so much for the continued support. If you guys would like to help us now on the road to 500,000, that feels good to say, and would like to stay up to date with all things Warzone and COD related, hit that subscribe button. And finally, my good friends over at G Fuel have code Espresso bumped up to 30% off in celebration of the Warzone new map launch and Season 3. So if you want to get a restock or anything to help you grind out the new season, check out the link in the description below and use code Espresso for 30% off your order. That said, let's jump into these hidden changes. So jumping into it, I want to start with some Gulag changes. Not that I'm ever there or anything, but if you are sent to the Gulag, you may notice a few different drastic changes here with this. Of course, it is a brand new Gulag entirely. We talked about that yesterday, in which this is a miniature version of Standoff, like we had a miniature version of Nuketown in the last iteration of the Gulag. But that's not the changes here we're discussing in this video. Firstly, though, the changes are that the weapons now seem to be randomized. There's no real weapon categories that seem to be set. In terms of at least classification, there may be a certain subset of weapons on rotation, but there's no longer one solely sniper, DMR, SMG, rifle Gulag that you'll see. So far in this first day and a half or so of being able to play this, whenever this goes up, I've seen things like the M82 with the E-Tool, the Krig 6, the Type 63, the Magnum, the Fara 83, DMR 14, AK 47, and the Tundra with the Wakizashi. So if I were to guess, having gotten a few weapons that were used multiple times, I think it's a set of these weapons, maybe a few more that we'll see refreshed out later on, and perhaps even as of weekly like we saw with other recent Gulag updates, but these all should really be giving you a chance to fight thus far, not just giving you one category of weapons. Also, having attachments now, this isn't just your base weapon like it was before. These attachment subsets seem to be set, like every single weapon that I got that was the same had the same builds, so it's not like they're random weapons with random attachments each time, but instead these also likely are on rotation as well, different builds of weapons. And so far, admittedly, I'm kind of liking this Gulag that we have right now. Yesterday we talked about some map updates here, but there's actually a lot of things that were changed that we didn't mention because they're maybe not necessarily immediately visible to you. If you play a lot, you will notice some of these, but if you're somebody that doesn't pay attention to those fine details, it may slip past you, and there's nothing wrong with that. But we end up seeing that, firstly, in terms of larger locale, there's new tunnels and bunkers that were introduced, kind of continuing on with some of that mystery that we saw within the OG version of Verdansk. And it looks like, by what was detailed by their strategy guide and things like that, we're going to have some things to do here with this in the future, likely pointing towards new Easter eggs coming in the future, but we'll see where that leads. There also is, in terms of functional and gameplay changes with the map, things that are definitely nice to have. There are more ladders and access points, firstly, which are absolutely huge. Some of the ones that I noticed were in downtown, those like 2 or 3 story buildings where players would just camp on top of the roofs, but you couldn't actually get up there unless you jumped to it from a larger building. Some of those actually now have ladders on them, which allow them to be more easily accessible to get to those points and maybe take down somebody that is camping there. Another thing that is a big one is that there's new points of entry into, say, Super. That's one that caught my interest here with this, was that in the bottom back office on the side of gas station of Super, there actually are 2 panes of glass you can jump through that you can end up getting into that lower level from the outside. Previously, you were walled off by multiple layers of concrete and walls that you had to either go in through main Super or around in the side entrance by the bathroom. Overall, there are a lot of smaller changes like this that you may not notice again, and truthfully, I feel like there's still so much more that I can even discover here still, that I'm still finding more out as of making this video, which if you'd like to see an updated video here with like every single change like this, let me know. I can see what we can work on. Additionally, in terms of locations, one big thing that actually caught my squad off guard with as of yesterday was that of the ammo cache locations. Previously, we ended up seeing that these were available in gun stores and police stations. You could hit them up and get an extra magazine of ammo, but with this map update, those are no longer the cases, and in fact, a lot of those 2-story white buildings are actually changed changed to be different things now. One of which that was great here that really caught Zach or Immortal off guard was one was turned into a library. But if you're looking for those ammo caches, they're now actually in gas stations around the map. So if you want to get some quick ammo or you're in dire need of it, just be aware that changed so that you don't go to a different location that doesn't have them anymore. Buy stations were also adjusted here across the map, in which they were adjusted by being firstly added into new locations, but also for existing locations, they were changed in where they were. So kind of relocated in those points of interest. So that might be something you need to refamiliarize yourself with, those spawn patterns of the buy stations and where they are positionally, because it definitely caught myself and my team off guard quite a bit as well. There also was, kind of rounding out now the map changes in particular here, is better lighting all around the map. Of course, we know that it is set at the sort of sunset hour here, but in terms of indoor buildings, there was a conscious effort, it looks like, to make indoor spaces a little more well lit. I'm not saying that completely gets rid of the entire problem. I know that whenever I was in Promenade, I entered into one of those apartment buildings in my games yesterday where the only way up to the roof is through those stairwells. I couldn't see into those stairwells at all because the lighting was still so bad. And what do you know, there were 2 players camping on those staircases that I just could not see. So I'm not saying that it is something that is perfected, but in some areas, it's definitely a little bit more well lit than it was beforehand. A nice push in the right direction, but not fully there just yet, if you ask me. Now, moving over to some gameplay specific items, there of course is a new ground loot pool. Now, this was mentioned in the update patch notes, but it was only mentioned in the fact that the ground loot was consisting of Cold War weapons and that the only blueprints in the game were legendary weapons. This is correct, but it also doesn't share that whole scope of the ground loot update. This now allows for weapons like the Street Sweeper, the LC-10, the FARA, the AK-47, the M60, and other weapons that have not been just yet seen in ground loot to be introduced for immediate play. Honestly, I think there are a couple of decent weapons here already in the ground loot that give you a fighting chance right out of the gate, but of course there is that disparity between some ground loot spawns that you may see. If you pick up an M60 and your enemy picks up an 18 or whatever round extended mag Street Sweeper, we kind of know who's going to win that one. Otherwise, in gameplay changes, there was mentioned the Silent C4 buff. I don't know if this one is actually true or not. This I'm kind of just throwing out there because I've heard about it. I haven't quite been able to test it, but bear in mind that actually may be changed as well. Additionally, there is a new infill sequence here whenever you actually drop into the match itself. We talked about this briefly as of yesterday, but this one kind of has a little bit of an asterisk because not only do you have that cool new animation that goes into it, but that asterisk is there because this one actually, I think there's a logical reason behind it. But visually, you may notice that you feel a little bit more zoomed out on that infill as you're waiting to drop when you're actually just spectating that helicopter. And I think this is just due in part to the sizing of the models that we have. A fleet of helicopters versus one larger C-130, you're definitely going to then notice those models being smaller. It opens up that visibility more, and I don't think that it necessarily punches out that FOV a little bit in infill per se. But you will definitely notice that you can see a little bit more of the map as you come into play. Talking about some weirder changes here with this, there actually were a few inadvertent blueprint changes here that you may have noticed. The Mortal Anguish Pellington blueprint now apparently in some cases has a gold tint to it, almost like there's a gold camo actually enabled on it, but it's just that base Mastercraft blueprint. So that's likely going to get changed here. One that is definitely going to get changed is that of the M16 Western Front. If you have this one, you may have noticed or may have seen it bug out for you, to which it actually turned into an incredibly cool looking but also weird looking Mastercraft that is actually part of an upcoming bundle that we'll see in the future. Now, if it looks like it's alien in nature or something like that, well, you're actually pretty much right, because it's actually from the Tracer Pack Alien Infestation Mastercraft bundle for the M16. If you guys are interested in it, though, it is this sort of atomic and alien sort of design to it for 2,400 COD points that'll be coming later on in the season at some point, but the update seemingly changed both of these blueprints on accident. Additional inadvertent and unfortunate changes here is that after this update, I've seen reports of performance hits big time. Now, personally, I haven't seen any of these actually in person myself. DLSS actually, I think, helped me out big time, but I'm wondering if it is related to that introduction of DLSS, where it's more of an NVIDIA thing and not necessarily the game, or maybe that's just entirely wrong. But if you're experiencing performance hits on PC in particular, or even on console, you're definitely not alone. So we're likely going to get a fix that irons that out relatively quickly. Additionally, though, I did notice that it seems like memory leaks and dev errors may be back. My game rarely crashes, but as of yesterday, I had a heavy crash where it basically froze my entire PC for a time. So unfortunately, that seems like it has come back as well after this update. Outside of that, though, that is the secret or hidden changes that we really saw within this update. There actually was a lot better communication, I think, even down to some reasoning made for changes in Warzone, and even in Cold War in some sense. They had some developer notes there as well in the patch notes. So I'm actually pretty pleased with this here. The only other things really worth mentioning, I think, here are that we do have a free access week available until the 28th for those that don't have Cold War and maybe want to try it out here with that. And also double XP and double weapon XP kicking in. So if you need to rank up those new weapons of the PPSH and the Swiss K31, you can do so while also ranking up yourself for your new seasonal rank. But that's about where we are at here with this Season 3 update for Warzone. So I think that's where we're going to wrap it up. Let me know your thoughts down below. What do you guys think of Season 3 so far, especially with the new Warzone update? Are you liking it? Have you found anything that maybe you think changed that we didn't quite mention in this video? Whatever it is, feel free to let me know your thoughts down below. If you enjoyed the video though, make sure you drop a like down below. If you also want to support the channel a little further and you guys are picking up the new content here with Season 3, it's entirely optional and of course is something that in no way should you feel pressure to do so. If you want to use code Espresso though, if you pick up the Battle Pass, feel free to tweet me a picture if you do so. I'd love to shout out some of your generous support here if you do decide to support the channel a little further. But if you are new to the channel, we just hit 400,000 subscribers as of yesterday. So again, thank you guys so much for the continued support here. If you are new to the channel and want to stay up to date with all things Warzone, Cold War, anything COD related, make sure you hit that subscribe button as well. If you also want to follow me over on Twitter and Instagram, there's the best places to get kicked outside of YouTube. Probably live on both those. If you guys want to check my conversation, ask me a question, whatever it may be, that link is down there in the description below. That said, thanks so much for watching. My name is Espresso. I'll see you guys later. Take care and peace.